Today we learn about both the pain and the stress of putting on a live event, and why it's worth every bit of it. Welcome to episode 10 of the Jason Croft Show. Erin Smith is on the show today. She is an entrepreneurial force of nature. Erin's a business strategist and a speaker, a best-selling author, and a podcaster. And since she didn't have enough going on, last year she decided that she'd host her own live event, Entrepreneur Summit. I've been in the live event world for years now, and let me tell you, it's a massive undertaking. And Erin pulled it off wonderfully. I was lucky enough to attend and benefit from all the incredible speakers she had on stage that day. I made sure I caught up with her afterwards to get her insights into what it really takes to putting an event like this together. By the way, before we dive in, Erin is doing it again. Coming up on March 29th and 30th, she'll have some incredible speakers on stage, including Charles Horton, Will Bunker, and Shark Tank's Robert Herjavec. If you don't have them already, grab your tickets today at entrepreneursummitdallas.com. All right, let's get rolling. All right, folks, we are here in the car with Erin Smith.
Hello.
She was very surprised that she was going to be driven around Uber style
I thought
for
we were
this
going to do it
interview
in Starbucks.
because I am not a good communicator and I did not paint a picture, but I'm glad because I don't think she would have done it otherwise. So we're in the car. Erin Smith, who the heck are you and what do you do?
Oh, that's the question of the day. So, I'm Erin Smith. I have actually a couple businesses now that I run. I have the Starters Club. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I have an online side of the business, and then I help other businesses create their own digital strategy. And I also have the Entrepreneur Summit, which just finished. It's an inaugural event.
Yes,
and
which was fantastic.
Thank you. Yes, you were there. Thank you so much for coming. And there will be another one. So it's the kickoff of another new business.
Well, this is great too because this is so much of what I really want to dive into with this episode because you're fresh off of that experience. I think it's such a unique experience that a lot of entrepreneurs don't ever touch, but they even think they should do that one day kind of thing.
Right.
So I'm anxious to dive into that here in just a little bit. But what's funny and strikes me, right away is that, the conversation I had with you, even the morning of the event, was not the statement. Oh yeah, the first of many, of course, and this is a new business model. That morning was a little different conversation.
It was a lot different conversation.
You're like, never again. Well, it wasn't that bad, but.
It was pretty much that bad. I think I probably used, and I swear, let's say I am not a clean speaking person, but
just fine.
I probably said the F word more in that last week before the event than I think I have all my 38 prior years. But yeah, I was never going to do it again. And that morning I had 2 hours of sleep. I was done. I was exhausted. Yeah. I did not want to see bad hotel wine more badly ever in my life than I did that morning of. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, this is awesome. I mean, we're here during Startup Week. I know you're heading down there in just a little bit. I was there last night. This is fantastic, very fitting, even though we're a few miles from it, driving around here. But that's a testament. The second year at Startup Week, all the events that go on, it's kind of a testament to the fact that doing a live event, doing an in-person event is still really powerful. I mean, you said it just before we got rolling, you connect online and all these people in all these places so that you can get to the offline.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think you're right on with that. And so before we dive into your event and what led to that, dive in a little more on your background. Have you always been an entrepreneur?
No, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. So I always start out telling people I grew up on a farm. So I grew up working very, very, very hard. And my dad wanted me to go to college. When I went to college, got my first job. It was with Anderson Consulting at the time, and Accenture now. And They paid me more than I asked. I had vacation. I never could understand why anyone would ever speak poorly of corporate America. It was my dream. And then I jumped jobs and went to another company where the downfall of the consulting world started to happen. And I read just this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad and said, I got to change my mindset. I wasn't ready to leave corporate America, but I went to night school to learn real estate, started investing in real estate, learned the stock market, and that was where I could own, and grew into entrepreneurship. It was a complete accident. I moved here, met a guy moved here, and he was working on a PhD in psychology, and I love animals. I do a lot of rescue, and we decided to start a pet sitting business. It was just for fun. It was going to be for the first summer, and that's when the entrepreneur thing started kicking in.
Just like dormant little.
Yeah, like it was like, whoa, I can make a lot of money doing this, and I can help people. That was really what made me so successful, was that I could help people. Like I was the normal pet sitter. Like
it's okay to say it was about the money.
There was a lot of money to be made, let me tell you. And that was, I tell people a lot when they're thinking about starting a business, they feel like they have to go the tech side. They feel like they have to get millions of dollars of funding. And I'm living proof, like if you can find, even you don't have to come up with a new concept, just find an in to a concept that's out there, learn how to scale it, and you can truly make as much money as you want to doing anything. Yep. You just got to find your in. So I was able to sell that business. I started another business, which was spray tanning. We were in salons. I was doing mobile all over Dallas, and sold that company.
Wow.
And then started the Starters Club, where I wanted to help people figure out this way of going from an idea to actually getting the momentum to make money. So I'm a bootstrapping queen. I've been able to bootstrap my way through all my businesses. So
that's great. And that's so powerful too. I mean, both as a story and lessons to be learned, but I mean, mentally, emotionally, everything, to have that in your wheel well to say, oh, if I want to go do this, I'll just go do it. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. I literally Googled my way. My first entrepreneur experience, I literally hired my first employee, came home and Googled, what do I need to do to hire an employee? Like, I had no idea what I was doing, but I'm like, all right, I need help. We'll figure this out. And
that's great.
Definitely leveraged that and hired a lot more.
Oh, yeah. So what is the Starters Club? How does that help folks?
Yeah, so the Starters Club, what I wanted to do is really be able to, a lot of times when you're starting up, you may not have a ton of money. So what I wanted to be able to do is, we have a lot of online courses. We're actually about to launch an online membership site where we can help people with that education. So you're surrounded with a group of people who are in it with you, because a lot of times when you start, as cool as being an entrepreneur is now, a lot of people still think you're crazy. And so there's online courses that help you gain that momentum and get rolling with, just because you know, a lot of people get a customer and they're like, I'm in business, which you are, but there's a lot more to business than that. It's important that you understand the fundamentals, and we just break that down.
Transferring from freelance or something, to an actual business too.
Exactly. So yeah, just teaching people how to put systems in place, how to do your own marketing. Like, how do you figure out Facebook ads and Google AdWords? That's how I built my first business, was Google AdWords. I just studied it and figured it out, and that's how I was able to grow. So there's so much opportunity out there, but teaching people kind of where to focus your time and where to go in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's great. So it's an online membership course.
There's courses you can access, and then we're going to be launching a membership site to focus solely on social ads, so Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google AdWords, all of those in order to build your business too.
And YouTube ads right now are just, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's where Google AdWords was.
Exactly. YouTube ads are still the cheap ones. Right. Like, you can really get a lot of leverage for little money on those.
Big time. Well, that's awesome for that resource. So, and how long has that been?
We're just approaching 2 years.
Okay.
So end of this month. Yeah.
Awesome. And so during that whole process of building that up, helping people along the way, how long has doing a live event been on your radar and been in the works?
It's so funny. It's always been in the back of my mind, but when we were talking about before we started recording, they scared the life out of me. Like it's because you're throwing a party and you pray to God somebody's going to show up, right? You are putting yourself out there in a way that it is like bare naked all out there, and you're just praying to God somebody's going to value this and show up. So it's been in the back of my mind. I had a cheat. So I co-run a group called Dallas Entrepreneurs with my friend Melanie. And we've been doing, she originally was doing the speaking events. I was doing the happy hours. Okay. And then I had to take over the events for her. And so that's where I learned, okay, let's book a speaker. And I started seeing what was resonating with people on topics. And it was, honestly, my fiance came in and he goes, you need to really do an event. And I had gone to a ton of events and really like saw what I liked, saw what I didn't like. I started to put it together. I literally got sick to my stomach because there were so many details that I said, I can't do this. Like, I'm not ready for this.
Because it absolutely is. And I totally understand the overwhelm, right? I mean, I've worked in the events industry for so long now, but not from even starting one, producing one, but just being, we work for meeting planners. And I mean, just our portion in the video component side of it, or the AV side of it, is massive. Much less every other little single detail. But I think what's so great here, and I know you're getting into, is the fact that it's doable, though. I mean,
it's totally doable. Yeah. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Because I did it all by myself. I had a couple people helping me a little bit, but overall, I was on my own with it. So if I can do one all by myself, if you have like a couple people who are helping you, it makes it even more doable.
Right. So it's definitely something. So you're sick to your stomach. You're like, there's something that keeps pulling at you, though.
Yeah.
This is important because you are. I mean, you, someone like me, you go to events, you understand the value there of even if you have to fly somewhere to get this information and meet those people in person. So something's pulling at you. Describe that fight a little bit of, I've got to do this, but oh my gosh, I don't want to do this.
Well, yeah, like I'm not a details person. And so when I started seeing I'm a visionary. And when I started seeing the details, and I'm like, what if I miss major details? What if I'm underthinking things, like, oh, I just need a couple people to help with registration when really I need 50 people to, you know what I mean? Like all these things I just didn't know. Right. And I was at a fine line too, because I knew if I was going to stand out in Dallas, I had to put money on the table. I couldn't do an event that cost me $500 to put together. I had to write some checks to speakers and get an event venue that was good enough and, all those things. So there was that scary component too. So
essentially it was a real event instead of, hey, let's put a show on in the barn kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like have a couple local speakers, because I felt like the local speakers, I don't say this where I'm talking bad, like I think they're bad people, but you can go anytime at any place and see any of the local speakers. If you miss that month, you're going to be able to see them again. Sure. So I couldn't put it together an event that would ask people to pay money to come see these speakers when they can go see them for free. I really needed to find fresh faces to put on that stage, and faces, you got to find a line. Like when you pay that price for a speaker, you got to say, okay, can I sell more tickets because this person's on the stage? Right. And you have to figure out that line of how much to pay and what kind of name they have and all of that. So, yeah.
And then all to the end goal of bringing value as well.
Exactly.
And to make it worthwhile for somebody and a reason to bring someone in.
Absolutely.
To pay for a ticket and all of that.
Yeah, I wanted people, that was another really important thing for me. I did not want fluff. I wanted you to feel good about being an entrepreneur, but I wanted you with takeaways, things that when you open that notebook after the event, you could, even if you pulled one or two, you could apply to your business that next day. So that was really, really important for me, that it wasn't fluff or the events where people just sell to you. I really wanted people adding value. Right. Exactly. Right. Exactly.
And that's really great. So for the folks out there who are on the fence, they do want to do this. If you will, take us through some of those key milestones for getting this thing together, and start with, okay, whatever, I'm doing this, period. What's step one?
So what step one was I laid it all out, what I thought my costs were going to be. And I laid out the worst case scenario, and I came to Jesus with that. And I'm like, all right, we're good. So as long as I if this is the worst case, if I put out this money and nobody shows up, can I live with this decision? And if the answer is yes, go for it. So I made peace with it. And I'm like, all right. So you have to, there's kind of a fine line. You want to be able to find the speakers and then find the event. But what I did was I just talked to a couple of speakers just to understand kind of what I needed to get together, what they would look for, on signing on for it. And I did that. And then I started the hotel search. One thing, I'll give a little key thing that of course I learned after I booked the hotel. There are people who help you negotiate contracts with the hotels. Find one of those people and get them on board, because they solely work on, you don't have to pay out of pocket for them, but there are so many little nickel and dime things that come your way after you get with the hotel. I wish I would have had that before. So lesson learned after
And that's one of that's a fantastic insight, because that's one of the things that's, I think, scare people the most, and rightfully so. I think that's and I love hotels. I think it's important to be in a great, proper venue.
Exactly.
Right? But yeah, you get hit for everything.
Oh, you want the lights on at your event? Oh, that's going to cost you.
Exactly.
You're like, wait a minute, I thought that was assumed.
Right. You're paying for electricity.
Yeah.
You're paying insane prices for internet.
Everything,
if you want internet, it's just all of these things. So people like that, they work on a commission basis, or how do they?
Yeah, I guess they work on a commission basis. I didn't know about this. My friend Gary Leland, who helps with Podcast Movement, told me, he's like, you should have gotten my girl after the fact. I'm like, well, thanks, but that's okay. So next time. But if you're putting on an event, know that there's people that I think they strictly work on commission, and they'll help negotiate everything for you. So that's just one less thing you have to worry about, and that's on your plate, and that would have been a lifesaver.
Oh yeah, big time.
Because another tip someone gave me before was go for high ceilings, because it really gives a different feel to the event. And I've noticed that now when you go to events with low ceilings versus a room with a high ceiling, that's, as you're planning out the room you want your event to, think about little things like that, because it definitely gives it a different impression. Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like buying a house, right?
Right.
It's the same kind of feeling and vibe. You feel like, wow,
exactly.
There's just, even if it's a long, narrow room,
exactly,
it's going to feel better.
Yeah,
that's a great point. So, finding the venue, what was that process like? Were you just scanning the internet?
I was scanning the internet, and you have to pretend you're a used car salesman. Or you're dealing with a used car salesman, because you just have to pretend. You don't want to tell them your budget.
Right.
You don't want to you need to go bare minimum. I don't want tinted windows. I don't want the navigation system. And you go in there, and I'd always say, as you pretend you want as little as possible. So, I want to work with you, whatever my ROI is on the room. My budget is, we'll figure it out, kind of basically is what I told them. And so some Intercontinental was it's $20,000 for the ballroom. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So yeah, exactly. And it was literally just who's got room available at the time I want it, who's within something I can afford and justify, and who's going to work with me. I think that was the magic words that the hotel I picked to use was, we'll work with you. So when I was able to book sponsors, because I didn't know if I was even going to get sponsors, they helped alleviate some of the room costs and stuff like that to work with me. So it was helpful for sure.
Yeah, wonderful. So you pick a venue. You ended up at Embassy Suites in Frisco.
Yes.
Great venue. Seemed to work out.
Yeah.
Very well. If you've got that, that's a big giant check on the checklist, right? So what's after that?
Speakers. You've got to really line up. And it was the speaker part was the most stressful for me, because I just wanted the perfect lineup. And I know with any business, it's that, moment of what's perfect versus done, getting that lineup versus, I wanted those perfect setups. And so that was just asking people who they knew, who they might suggest, and then finding the people that I wanted to go with. So I really wanted people to come in from out of town. I wanted a couple people that would, be good names, not huge names, but big enough names to draw a crowd, and then finding the people who would fill in the middle and with local talent. So that was several weeks a month, and getting a website built and putting, every time you'd get a speaker, like putting that in there, and just kind of building it, because I had 3 months to do everything.
And I remember talking to you on and off during the whole process, and you'd almost have a speaker and then didn't have one, and then just going that roller coaster.
I had so I had 3 months to do this. The first 3 weeks of everything was around the holidays. So it's like I could not have picked a worse time ever to do this.
Scratch that month.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but in trying to get speakers to sign on, and I had a great one lined up. She agreed. Started working the contracts, everything started going, and then she came back and she's like, Erin, I looked at my schedule and it's not going to work. And so I was back to square one between the week of Christmas and New Year's, trying to find speakers, and everybody's like, we're on a vacation, like nobody's working right now. So it was interesting, but I thought it worked out all great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So get that speaker. So talk to me about promoting the event. Because that was one thing that we were talking about again beforehand, that it's already difficult, right? Just anywhere in the world you have an event and you want to get people there.
Yeah.
We're in a little unique difficulty, I think, too, in our marketplace here in Dallas, a little bit in the startup world, where there are so many events, just like you mentioned. If you miss this speaker this week, you're going to have that speaker next week, and they're either free or really low cost. But then you want to bring in something bigger, not just a ticket for a ticket's sake, but really bringing in that value. And I know you weren't just going after, you very specifically not just going after the startup world. You were bridging those worlds.
Exactly.
Startup plus just small business owner, entrepreneur, all of those things. So there's the challenge, right? How do you convey the value that is going to be there?
That was tough because I've been an entrepreneur here for almost 11 years and thought I knew a lot of people, and then you realize you don't know anybody. So just like a lot of people were like, oh, go talk to this person, and I was just talking to who would ever listen from that perspective. And Facebook ads. So what was difficult was I have the Starters Club. I have that base. I've spent a couple of years building that base. But as I started to really say, okay, who's my primary audience for the event versus the Starters Club, it was there was some overlap, but overall it was two very different people.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Because the people at this going to the summit would be maybe more further along.
The summit was focused for growth.
Okay.
And that's where I wanted to really bridge the communities too, because we all have to hire, we all have to do video, we all have, no matter what business you are, there's certain things we all have to do in order to grow.
Right.
So I had to start from scratch, and doing that, so once I got the speakers, a lot of my time was digging into LinkedIn ads and Facebook ads, and just continually honing in on, okay, who is this audience? Who's clicking? Who's interested? Okay, make it more lookalike. And so it took some time finding that audience, and
constant testing with
constant testing, and then constant reworking of the audience. So I think these people have these interests and they're going to be here, but let's find and then change that up, and creating lookalike audiences and stuff. So that was a huge thing, because when Entrepreneur does an event like this, everybody knows Entrepreneur Magazine. So they're going to, I'm Erin Smith, like nobody knows me. And I was telling you pre-recording, I'd get phone calls from people like, who are you? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, because I wanted an event, you should come to it. Like, I promise you, this is going to be good. Like, but you just have to prove to the people who are there, and that's one thing I said, like, if it's 5 people in that room, I am going to wow the crap out of those 5 people and make them so happy they did it. But you just have to, it was really honing in on the message, and continually getting people, this is growth, this is content, you are going to meet some amazing people. And I was very proud of the room. I really was, because people wanted freebies. People wanted, I was getting phone calls, can you discount because of this? And I held strong, and I'm like, no, or people said, startup week's in a couple weeks and it's free. Why would they come to your event? I'm like, I don't want a room of people who are looking for free. I want people who are valuing their business, who are valuing what they learn. And I'm okay if it's less people. But when you meet somebody in that room, you are like, wow, this is a great room. And I felt like I accomplished that.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I know I had some great conversations there with folks, and as well, I mean, of course, the speakers on stage and that interaction with them off stage as well. And it was just that kind of event.
Yeah.
Too. What were the numbers? What kind of turnout?
I think we ended up, when it's all said and done, we had about 125, 130 people there. So
that's fantastic.
For a first, I was shooting high. I guess that's what's good about shooting high is even if you miss a little bit, you're still in a good number.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I was shooting high, but I was happy with that for a first time event for sure.
Good.
I'm very excited because a lot of the people who even doubted me and said, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have had it in Frisco, you shouldn't have done all these things. Now they're like, all right, we're doing this next year and I'm going to help you. So that made me feel good too.
Oh yeah, that's great validation for it. So what are the big takeaways that are making you say, oh yeah, I'm definitely doing this again?
So there was a moment I never wanted to do it again. And there was a moment in that day, I think it was about session 3, where this woman stood up and she had a young girl with her. It was her daughter. And she said, my daughter has been really begging me she's interested in entrepreneurship. She wants to learn. She wants to start her own business. She's in the 6th grade. And I saw this event pop up, and she was asking for since Christmas or something. And that young girl was asking these questions. And it was this moment where I was like, this is exactly why you did this, to help people and to give them opportunities to meet people that they may never have met. Going to Dallas events and connect with entrepreneurs. And that there are people who walked out of that room inspired and ready to implement something in their business that could change them or make a connection. That is that one connection they've been waiting to make. And when the mom stood up, I was like, crap. I literally I teared up. I was like, crap, I got to do this again. This is exactly, great. When you're honed in on your why, you're like, this is why I did it. And this is exactly why I did it. And so doing that and just, I don't want to say I put myself on the map because that sounds so cliche, but people took notice. I proved to the world, and I saw this, a lot of people say they're going to do something and they don't do it. I just saw one person back out of an event last week. He had this big event he was doing and completely backed out of it and didn't do it.
Wow.
And so when people are watching and they're like, who is this person? Are they going to follow through? Are they going to show up like they said? Are they going to deliver? And when you take on something this large, people are noticing. And if you can, come through with it, I've had a lot of doors open for me that I never even knew existed because of this event. I've had a lot of people, even a new possible business opportunity. So it really is powerful because not a lot of people take on the larger scale events because it is a lot of work, but it really is worth it. And it's a great way for you to connect deeper with your community and help build a community if that's what your goal is with your business.
Oh, yeah. And I think that lesson applies well beyond events. I mean, there's so many things that you can do that are way out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
That you just know you need to do to scale, to connect with people. And that's such a great insight that people are watching, way more than you even think and even know. And it's powerful because when you get down to the minute amount of people, the little bitty amount of people who actually follow through with something. I mean, and especially the live event is kind of the ultimate of that, I think, as far as just hard, just difficult putting it out. I mean, there's people who want to start a podcast, never get around to it. People who want to do that, never get around to it. And when you do, and you take that step out there, it's amazing what comes to you, when people see that, because people respond to that type of action and momentum and energy, I think. And so I applaud you for diving in and doing that. And I'm so excited that it ended up being a validating experience for you, with everything all said and done.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it's still, even if it wouldn't have been a quote unquote success, I think it still would have validated, because my goal is to always grab something where if I want to do it and I'm at throw up status over it, I know I have to do it, and I want to stop being scared of it. So that's like always a goal. It's like, okay, and if anything, I knew I did it and I'm not scared of events anymore.
Yeah.
But the fact that I actually want to do it again
it's icing on the cake.
Right? It is icing on the cake. Yeah. It is. But I think learning to grab fear is so important, and it's one of the biggest lessons I've learned in the past couple years, where when I'm that terrified, I know breaking through that, I'll look back and it won't be, it won't be scary at all. And it's proven itself time and time again. So that was one of the big reasons why I took it on. I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of being scared of this. I'm going to just do it and stop being scared.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. What's the best way for people to keep up with you and for the next event and for the Starters Club and everything?
Yeah, so you can go to thestartersclub.com. I'm at the Starters Club everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, all that. Just look up the Starters Club. And you can also go to the website, still there. We're going to be making some changes to entrepreneursummitdallas.com. We're going to be keeping up the podcast. And I'd love to hear from you too. If you want to shoot me an email, Erin@thestartersclub.com. We're going to be looking at speakers. I want to interview some potential speakers on the podcast. And I want to know who you'd love to see. So if there's somebody you're dying to see in person that you'd love to hear from, please let me know, because we'll be lining it up for next year.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was fun. I like the driving around thing. It's pretty cool.
Heck yeah. And no wrecks.
No, that would kind of be a buzzkill, but.
Man, what valuable lessons for all my business peeps out there looking to dive into live events. I hope you see that it takes a lot of work, but it can really pay off beyond the event itself. Make sure you go to entrepreneursummitdallas.com and register for Erin's event. And if you're catching this after, then go to that link and you get connected to her and to her Entrepreneur Summit podcast as well. If you're looking to put on your own live event or wanting to up your video marketing game, drop me a line at jason@thejasoncroft.com. My 25 years of experience can help you shortcut some of the hazards along the way. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more great interviews on the way. See you next time.
It's Saturday night.
It was Saturday night and I'm feeling kinda silly. Winter coat on cause the air was chilly, but I'ma make my way out to the record spot. Gotta find some new breaks for the beats to rock. I gotta come with the flavor like some lifesavers. On now and late is Dr. Beat Maker. If I'm a player, it's like your tape deck. And if you miss the gig, then take a rain check. Stacks of wax piled high to the ceiling, need a U-Haul truck if I would think about stealing. But it's not my steed, so I commence with the digging, no kidding. Something that'll keep the beats hitting what I'm getting. So much to choose from, bro.